Hi, welcome everyone. I'm glad everyone could join today's webinar. My name's Tawny Bridewell, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director here at ASB. And I'll be walking you through most of today's session. I'm joined today by two people who know the Formulation Floor and BakingTECH as well as anyone. We have Amy Estrada, who is the BakingTECH 2027 Program Chair, and Scott McCauley, the ASB Commercial Engagement Committee Chair. And just for all of you who may not know what that is, the Formulation Floor, the Commercial Engagement Committee is the Formulation Floor is developed under the Commercial Engagement Committee. So they'll be jumping in with a few points to add context and comments throughout the session. And they'll be hands-on at the Q&A at the end of the session. So if you want to put in all your questions in the Q&A section, we'll dive in after that. Amy, Scott, do you want to say a quick hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. I'm Amy Estrada with Rademacher and your 2027 Program Chair. Looking forward to kicking off BakingTECH with all of you.
And good morning. Thank you, Tawny, for the introduction. I'm Scott McCauley. I'm president of Auto-Bake Serpentine and head of our sweet goods category at Madera, formerly Middleby Bakery, as many of you know us. Anyways, happy to be here, excited about this year, and excited to share with you some new things that we're going to do for 2027. Thanks,
Amy and Scott. We'll be covering a multitude of information this year. So this session, the session is built for different audiences or all audiences alike. Some of you may have participated in the Formulation Floor before, so you may know the layout and the logistics. Some of you may be hearing about the Formulation Floor for the first time. If you are new, don't worry, ASB staff is here to help you throughout that process, as well as learning information through this webinar. Just a quick snapshot, we will be going through all the new information, new activations, the registration deadlines, the table, and yes, one new activation is a booth experience, our innovation spotlight, our Command Lounge, and our product showcase, all new, or this is new as well in 2027. So I'm going to start with the basics. So BakingTECH 2027 will be held in Atlanta at the Hyatt Regency, February 21st through the 24th. This is right in downtown Atlanta. The Formulation Floor itself will be running on 2 unopposed time blocks on February 23rd, 10:15 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., with another session on Wednesday, February 24th from 10:30 to 12:30. And I do want to highlight that it is unopposed, as there are no competing education, networking, or general sessions during these scheduled times. So all attendees will be on the floor and nothing to pull them away from the floor. The Formulation Floor is really an extension of our education mission here at ASB. It is, at its heart, the Formulation Floor is a community. Bakers and suppliers, industry experts coming together to share ideas, forge connections, and engage in best practices and techniques. So this is something that we do take seriously here, since we gather our community together in one place. Every year for 2 to 3 days, we're always evaluating that experience to make sure we're still meeting the needs of our members and partners, that your time at BakingTECH is genuinely valuable and fresh. So in this webinar, we are going to highlight how we're doing that. So before we move on, I want to bring Amy on for a minute, give her perspectives.
Sure. Thanks, Tony. As someone who has been going to BakingTECH since 2012, the highlight of any BakingTECH conference is always how personal it feels from the moment you walk in. You're not just arriving as a company name or a job title, you're showing up as yourself, with the role you hold, the experience you bring, and the parts of the industry that you're passionate about. No matter what role you have or what segment of the industry you sit in, BakingTECH gives you a place to gain knowledge and gather your resources. You'll learn today that 2027's Formulation Floor is designed with diversity and demand as key topics. The new activations will speak to the current demands of operations as well as the demands of our consumers. The opportunity to customize your booth allows companies to highlight what makes them different, and will give attendees the opportunity to experience your company in an exclusive and unique way. Those principles will be sprinkled all throughout the 2027 BakingTECH experience as well, with diverse and unique breakout sessions, workshops, and interactive ideation labs. We're excited to give this platform for people to not just attend a conference, but to participate in it.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I'm gonna keep it maybe a little bit shorter and more concise. Our commercial engagement committee is certainly focused on the formulation floor, but we're really a year-round committee that focuses on having meaningful, impactful, consistent engagement between our equipment suppliers, which are our exhibitors on the formulation floor, and the baker. And what we want the formulation floor to be is very simply enticing and engaging and educational, as was mentioned by Tani. And so setting the right expectation for our supplier side exhibitors, and also creating several moments within that event that draws bakers in. And since 2011, when I started going to ASB now 15 years ago, the complaint from the exhibitors has always been the same. We want more bakers, but setting the right expectation is also really important. And we feel like we have these new activations that help bring participation and excitement, enthusiasm around what we're doing on the formulation floor, and also setting the right expectation for our supplier side of, hey, when bakers come, this is an educational piece. It's not a transactional event, it's an educational event to really network and build community and really teach and explain what's new with technology, what's new with capabilities, and what's new with the product, which you'll hear more about just shortly.
Thanks, Amy and Scott. Sorry, looks like my mouse is freezing up on me. So thanks, Amy and Scott. Before we get into what's changing, let's talk about what's remaining the same or consistent this year. So as been asked, there will be tabletops, and this is something that will not be changing. So in this instance, the tabletops, all materials will be sitting on the tabletop, no additional freestanding displays, and it will include one registration as it has in the past. One item I do want to make sure I make clear, as it wasn't well known last year, it was our first year of offering food sampling at our tabletop or on the formulation floor. So this is something that we are looking to institute every year or have available as a feature every year, but it is reliant on the facility that we have contract on a year-to-year basis based on their rules and regulations. Change is coming up in 2027. So we have two activations that we've had in previous years. The first one being the Innovation Spotlight, which was formerly called Innovation Stations. And it's not just a display in 2027. There will be a competition this year where attendees will be able to vote on the show floor through the event app, and there will be a best of show announced on the stage during general session. So the physical format is going to be familiar, but it is going to be a little bit more competitive this year. Second, last year we had the Co-Man Lounge. And in this aspect, and we'll get more into definitions and more explanation on both of this and all this these pre-slides here later on in the webinar. But the eligibility for this has expanded. So this has used to be geared towards established co-manufacturers. Now it will explicitly include emerging and growth stage companies too. So if this happened to be an activation you looked at last year and didn't think it was the right fit, it might be worth taking a second look at this year. New activations this year, we do have 2 new activations, brand new this year, and it's called one is our product showcase. So this is going to be a live product tasting experience with, again, attendee voting. We'll be covering more in detail later. The second, as I mentioned previously, is going to be offering a 10 by 10 booth. There will be limited availability our first year in this. So outside of potentially purchasing a tabletop, you're able to also purchase a 10 by 10 for a more visual dynamic presence. And do want to bring in Scott if you want to add any additional comments concerning the new activations for 2027 before we move on to registration.
You bet. Thanks, Tony. So the First Taste Product Showcase is something that really emerged in my mind from, the company I work for is a global company with many brands that are across the world. And one thing that I recognize both within AutoBake and others within our group is that there are so many different flavors and products that we've become quite good at making in other markets that don't have a footprint here in the U.S. And by the way, in just North America, you'll see that in Canada and Mexico as well. So what we wanted to do initially was how do we number one, draw attention to these new products, because everywhere I go, even when I'm in the U.S. visiting a customer, they want to know what's new across the globe, and vice versa is also true. So this was an idea of how do we introduce products that are already being produced somewhere and have some measure of success that potentially have a possibility for success here in the U.S. As we know, the trends are changing. And so the idea here was that this would allow us to do 2 things. Number one, it's open to both suppliers, and it's also open to producers. So if there's a global producer that wants to introduce a new product in the U.S., for sure they can have this booth, the showcase. If it's an equipment manufacturer that has developed a specialty at producing a certain specific product, they are also welcome to present that product here. So it opens the door to allow a lot of our global or international companies to present, where sometimes I think historically they felt like, oh, this is just whatever, bread and buns, or it's just U.S., whatever it is. But we wanted to introduce this in a way that did 2 things. The local bakers, the domestic bakers would be interested in hearing and seeing what the new products are that potentially could have some impact here. And number 2, suppliers, equipment suppliers that are producing those products that are maybe an international company, come and participate in our program and make a connection with someone here that is interested in perhaps making that product. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the 10 by 10 booths. There is a lot of really good things to say about the simplicity that we've had in the past with just the tabletops. You can see across the entire room. It's easy to see. It's easier to navigate, frankly. But one thing that's missing is the idea of just this: can we really be educational? We can for sure network in that atmosphere, but can we really be educational in that atmosphere? It's difficult. You're only educational if you're engaging directly with a person one-on-one, and that's good for networking. But for so many, they have so much they want to show when you set up that booth that, in my mind, I can imagine many of our exhibitors actually putting up a screen in the back. This is a digital wall that just scrolls all the information that they want to present at that moment, right? and allows a much more immersive experience for our bakers to come down and actually see something. It's not just about having that discussion, because again, going back to one of the things that we felt like there was a gap in was the expectation. So many of our exhibitors come thinking this is transactional. We're changing that expectation. This is educational, but let's give them the tools to make it educational. And one of those tools we believe is a more interactive booth.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, now we're going to get into some more finite details, and starting with the registration and deadlines that are coming up. So August 18th is when registration will be opening up for the formulation floor as well as individual BakingTECH registration. So that is 2 weeks from today. So in this, as far as the formulation floor space goes, this is applicable to your tabletop registration, a booth registration, an application for an innovation spotlight, and for a product showcase or a product entry into that showcase. The registrations are tiered, and it is tiered based on your overall investment in ASB and your partnership with ASB. So we're looking at if platinum level here will start you at, you'll be able to register August 18th with gold level on August, that's platinum and gold. Silver sponsors will register August 19th, bronze level sponsors, partners, August 20th, and we have our supporter level starting August 21st. And all exhibitors who exhibited in 2026, you have a dedicated turning exhibitor window starting August 24th through September 9th, regardless of sponsorship level. Meaning if by chance you are a sponsor or partner at ASB and you miss your deadline, you could come in at any point during that time. Anyone that is new, you will be opening, or we will be accepting your applications September 10th. So I do want to make a call out as well that your sponsorship or your investment level is calculated on through July 1st of 2025 through June 30th, 2026. So ASB's previous fiscal year. And this includes your BakingTECH sponsorships, your year-round sponsorships, and your Formulation Floor spend. Any Hall of Fame donations or scholarship donations do not count towards your overall investment level, and with that being going towards your registration date for the Formulation Floor. And this is just a quick snap of the sponsorship levels. And this just is a highlight of the top, not the entire package, but really what highlights the top level of each package. And you may, there is a QR code if you are interested in learning more about our partnership and the levels. You can scan the QR code. Of course, ASB staff is here to answer any other questions for you. Our goal is to help you achieve your objectives through your partnership with ASB. So if there is something that you're looking for and an opportunity that is not readily available or visible through our partnership packages, we're always open to exploring new ways to work together. And one thing I will note too is we will have additional BakingTECH specific sponsorships coming online in the next few weeks as well. I know I mentioned this before with your sponsorship package or your investment, your investment levels or investment packages. We do have a new initiative here. We do have our ASB New Member Scholarship. So it is an initiative to attract more bakers to our community ASB and BakingTECH. So your donation is, supporting baker attendance at BakingTECH. And this is a new feature that will be added to the registration process for the formulation floor. You will be able to add, if you choose, a donation to support a new member scholarship. And again, this scholarship is geared towards the baker demographic. So just to highlight quickly here, again, if you do not have any exhibitor history or sponsorship history with ASB and BakingTECH, your registration or your registration for tabletop and tabletop assignment will start September 10th. And then anyone that does have a exhibit experience only and no additional investment within the organization, your registration opening date is going to be August 24th. I will be emailing all returning exhibitors as well as partners before the end of this week with these details and letting you know and just reconfirming when you are able to access and register for the formulation floor. So now we're going to delve into more in-depth detail about what is new and what will be changing for 2027. So again, we do have this year the tabletop and booth experience. So the tabletop, sorry, I keep forgetting my mouse isn't working. So again, tabletop is familiar. This is going to be your 8 by 30 drape table with your standard package of 2 chairs, identification sign, and the displays will be limited as in past to a 36-inch above the table. No freestanding displays will be allowed. Everything does have to be placed on the table, and included in your tabletop fee will be 1 delegate registration. So this is the new activation. As we noted previously, it is going to be a 10 by 10 booth. And essentially this will give you space, and you will have 3-foot high side drapes included. There will be no back wall drape. So please keep this in mind if you choose to go towards this option. As noted, it will give you a little bit more dynamic presence, visual and dynamic presence than the tabletop. So 2 things to add on here is you will be responsible for any back wall design. And, that back wall design can be a pop-up banner, 2 pop-up banners, or a full back wall display or a screen, as Scott had mentioned previously. There will be no furniture included, though there will be very limited furniture ordering available to rent, such as a table or a counter. Scott, anything that you would like to add concerning the, additional comments on the 10 by 10s or, yeah?
You bet. No, thanks, Tony. Something else I want to add to this is I like this format, and you might question whether or not, the picture we see in front of us has a table inside this booth. But again, in my imagination, it was, table's great, chairs are fine, but these are very short periods of times that we're on this floor, actually. In my mind, if it's my booth and I'm structurally going to organize how I'm going to set it up, I'm going to probably have a digital board in the back. I will have no furniture. As you can see now, I'm standing. I always stand. That's me. But again, this is like a trade show. Everybody stands. It's pretty typical. But I want to invite people into my booth. I want to get them out of the hallway, get them out of the aisle, invite them in, and have a real conversation with them, and not feel like they're having to kind of fight around people that are moving, through the aisleways, et cetera. So I really believe that for those that maybe have this same kind of vision that I do, that you have an open space, you bring them in, you give them this educational, immersive experience that wasn't available before, and I believe that's going to do two things. It's going to create more meaningful networking. It's going to also bring more bakers down to the floor so that they can experience this new activation. And by the way, if none of that is interesting to you because of whatever it is that is being sold at your tabletop and you enjoy that still exists for you. So we've tried to keep the old and marry it with the new so that we can satisfy the broad needs of our group.
Thank you, Scott. Just to highlight for anyone that is interested, I won't go over the entire slide, but again, registration will be open 2 weeks. Early bird registration will conclude November 13th. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of that pricing. It will be incrementally increased through 2 additional registration tiers. So we do have member and non-member pricing for both activations, with a member tabletop starting at $42.50 and the booth will be $49.50. And again, that does include 1 delegate registration. Each additional registration will be at the BakingTECH individual registration delegate fee. So our next one is going to be the Innovation Spotlight. And again, to highlight this in the past, which we've had it since 2025, is the innovation stations. So as I noted before, it has gotten an upgrade, making it more competitive. Moving into 2027, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it is a kiosk-style showcase. It will be centrally located on the floor. This is built for cutting edge, to provide information and education on cutting edge ingredients, technology, and formulation solutions. So an important detail with the Innovation Spotlight, no registration is included in this fee. That is an additional cost. It is also something that is, your application is reviewed and accepted. And if it is accepted, you will, at that point in time, pay for the innovation station. And again, this is going to open August 18th as well for applications. Basically looking at applications in equipment and technology and ingredient and formulation. Scott, anything to add on this? Oh, I forgot to add, what is changing? It is changing this year. It is, again, attendees will vote through the app on Best in Show on the Innovation Spotlights. And in previous years, the innovation was restricted to be 1 year off of the market. That has expanded this year, going out to relatively around 5 years.
Thanks, Tanya. Yeah, I do want to add a little bit to this. This is something that I've had the honor of being a part of since the beginning a few years ago. And AutoBake, myself, we were part of the first cohort, and so I learned through that experience. We had a new innovation at the time, and one of the things that really drove my thought process here was, as an engineer, manufacturer, and innovator, I really wanted and really thought this would allow instant baker feedback, my consumer, voice of the consumer, maybe even not even my consumer, maybe just other bakers that we don't we don't do business with currently, to give some input on what we were doing and how we were doing it, and allow us to get a read on whether or not we're moving in the right direction or not, if we should pivot or even change this slightly. So it was great, and I actually felt like we accomplished those things in the first year. But I was at Gulf Foods Manufacturing last year in November, which is in Dubai, and really interesting show. But one of the things that I took away from that show, and we've been many years, but this is the first time I actually went to the event where they actually give out the awards for all the different innovations, and it's a large spectrum, and they give out probably 20 different awards. But it's a really big deal, and it's very intentional. It's a private VIP event. They only invite the exhibitors to it, and they make it really special. And I felt like, man, that's really what we're missing here is competition drives innovation. It makes all of us better. It makes our products better, and ultimately that's better for the baker. And I believe that if we can drive a little bit more competition here, and part of that is, hey, recognition in a very public way. If you win, or even if you participate, you get recognized as well. But really winning becomes an honor, and it becomes something that becomes a historical thing, and it allows our exhibitors to strive for something every year, to be the most innovative. Now you have a way to actually quantify that through this programming. So we're excited about it. We think this kind of improvement to what we've kind of have a vision for, a few years ago, is going to be a big difference going forward.
Thanks, Scott. So just to quickly highlight the innovation spotlight fees, the fee there's no tiers in this. It is a flat fee. The only difference is if you do want a monitor included in your display. So the $5,500 fee does include the kiosk and the branding. It is a branded kiosk. And it does include the design work. That will be on your team to make the design of the display itself. It does include electricity. And again, to highlight, no BakingTECH registration included. That is a separate fee. And $7,000, which does include a monitor, which would be installed on the back wall. The deadline for applications is October 27th. Okay, so last year we had our Co-Man Lounge. It was the first year we had the Co-Man Lounge. And this is the Co-Man Lounge, and who is it for? So 3 groups. So we have our co-manufacturers who are looking to build relationships and with emerging and growth stage bakery brands, scaling brands who are actively looking to outsource production, and they need a co-man for capacity, private label specs, or launching without building their own plant, and solution providers to support co-manufacturing relationships on both sides. So that is the change this year. We are expanding that scope as far as who is going to be or who is able to participate in the Co-Man Lounge. And again, the Co-Man Lounge here, flat fees. There are no tiered registrations. The deadline here, obviously, the sooner the better. The space is limited. Right now, we are looking at about 8 kiosks. Not to say we cannot expand it, but it is first come, first serve. The kiosk fee is $2,150. You can add additional product display ads for $500 a product, and a special discounted rate for staff registration at $775 per person, and that is up to 2 people per Co-Man kiosk. So our next activation, and I think our most exciting one this year, is going to be our product tasting or our product showcase. So again, it is a live tasting or a live tasting activation. Attendees will be able to sample the finished product on the show floor. So this is a product only. Again, it's, as Scott highlighted, it is not only for bakers that are producing the product, but any equipment manufacturer that may have a collaboration in partnering with a product. Again, you do not need to be an exhibitor to participate in the product showcase. And the stipulations here, or the qualification, I don't even know if this is the right word to use, but it is important to note that it does have to be a finished product, shelf stable, and served at room temperature only. We will not have access to refrigeration, freezing, or on-site cooking. So again, the fun part about this is not only will attendees be able to engage in tasting and going through that sense process, you will be able to vote through the event app on the best product show, best in show, second and third during BakingTECH. And Scott, I'll turn it over to you if you have any additional comments and vision behind this.
You bet. Thanks, Tony. So foundational to our business is great products. And so I think this, again, is something that we've been missing. Just as a small taste of that, if you can imagine, and this was my experience, just our students that do the competition every year, you know, how much I wanted to taste the thing that they were presenting, and how important that is. And that's the same thing here. Foundational is the product itself, and then the differentiation of one product to the next and those new ideas. And I love this because it's, you know, even if someone, for instance, I'm going to use an example of a product that's becoming a little bit popular called Pinsa. Just an example of Pinsa. Okay, a baker may come up, taste, perhaps it's an equipment supplier that has experience in Europe making this product, and they taste it and they think, man, that's good, but it could be better. And it automatically, the ideation begins of, and that's why we call it the formulation floor. You start thinking about and formulating, how would I do this a little bit different for my application and my customer base, et cetera. So we're super excited about this. And again, just like with the innovation showcase of that we're doing, that used to be the innovation stations, same thing applies here. Competition drives everything. We want to invite as many participants as we possibly can to make it robust, and competition drives that because we want to honor them on the general stage. And again, it will over time show, you know, who in our business is most active and most innovative. And again, the ultimate goal here is to draw an organic growth up from our international group, either supplier-based or producer-based.
Thank you, Scott. And we have the fee for the product showcased first taste is going to be $1,500. And that deadline is January 13th. And this will be included in this is going to be a table within the product showcase section of the floor, a listing in the app, and a QR code for more additional information on your product. What's not included is obviously your product samples and any type of serviceware. There are additional guidelines concerning the sizing and or the serving size of the product, which we won't get into that detail into this webinar. That information is and will be available within our food product sampling agreement, which all food product showcase will have to complete in order to participate in this showcase on the formulation floor. So just to quickly highlight really to what you need to know coming into the process of registration and going into the formulation floor. Again, everyone does need to have a badge to access the formulation floor, and with the booths and tabletops, you do receive one delegate registration. So additional delegate registrations are processed through the BakingTECH registration site and are additional fee over and above the space fee that you will be paying for. Food product or food sampling, whether it be at your tabletop or at the product showcase, it does, just to quickly highlight, it does need to be non-perishable. It is going to be a maximum of a 2-ounce serving size, and as I highlighted, it does have to be something that doesn't need to have use of a refrigeration, freezer, or cooking, baking, and of course any appropriate insurance to liability insurance as well. No alcohol, no cooking on site. As far as the number of spaces, so right now we do have, for tabletops, it's one brand, one space. So you are able to buy or purchase multiple tabletops under one company, as long as each specific brand or each space is branded per the brand. And as far as mixing and matching, there's no limitation on how you participate in Formulation Floor. So you are able to purchase tabletops, participate in the product showcase, an innovation station, or a booth space. So there's no, like I said, no limitation on that experience for our partners for 2027. That right now, it does conclude the informational part of the webinar. So I will open it up to questions. This here the QR code will direct you to the Formulation Floor information. This does give contact information. I am available. You can reach me, as I note here on this slide, or you can email questions directly to events@asbe.org. So Amy and Scott, if we want to open it up to questions. It looks like we do have some questions that have come in. Okay, so is there a number, and this is from Ashley, is there a maximum on the number of booths that will be offered? So the number of booths that we have slated, and hopefully I'm answering this correctly, but what we have on the floor right now are 30 booths available for sale. That we can certainly look at it if we find that the booths are selling more than the tabletops, we can potentially change out the floor. But right now, 30 booths, and it is going to be first come, first serve. And I know Kristen has a question here. How will ASB enforce the types of booths versus tabletop? now that there are options available. I'm not quite sure. Kristen, can you clarify enforcing? Is it enforcing on the show floor or enforcing in the registration? On the registration side. Do you want to type it in the chat? There's also a question, and I'll throw this out to Scott from Steve Byrne. The new activations product tasting co-man are open to ingredient suppliers as well. Do you want to confirm that?
Yes, they are.
Specifically, the product tasting.
Yeah, of course they are, Steve. Again, the idea is to have a final product for tasting, but obviously if there's a special ingredient from an ingredient supplier that is unique globally, perhaps in another market, and that has the potential to have a footprint here in the U.S., no, for sure, it's also available to our ingredient suppliers. Same for our co-man lounge. It's not restricted to a certain group.
Thank you, Scott, and thanks, Kristen, for making the clarification on enforcing. And I can answer that we do, the Commercial Engagement Committee does monitor, as well as staff, exhibitors or participants in the formulation floor, and they walk the floor to identify any individuals or companies that are, I guess, not following the rules and regulations, and it's something that it is, we do discuss or at least approach the identified exhibitor or participant to, in this instance, for tabletops, to make sure they are following the guidelines, making sure that they are not having any free displays, freestanding displays, and they're sticking to the guidelines of nothing over 36 inches on the tabletop. So as far, and that would be the same for the booths. However, you will be allowed in that space to have the freestanding back wall or pop-up banners. That is a significant difference, obviously, between the tabletops and the booths, where you will have a more an opportunity to promote your brand in that space and more dynamic presence.
I think something worth mentioning, Tawny, in response to your question, Kristen, is when we put together the floor plan that shows booths and tabletops, we put thought behind where those booths would go so that we are still able to maintain visualization all the way throughout the show floor. We understand that these backdrops are going to cut off that line of sight in some cases, and so we did want to be intentional about making sure that we thought about those things. So the booths will be distributed throughout, but they'll be in locations that are already determined, so we'll know who's got that and who doesn't.
Any other questions? I think we've gotten all the questions within the Q&A.
Sorry, I see one that came in here. What tips do you have for first-time attendees? Yeah, it might be worth talking quickly about the difference between first-time attendee as a exhibitor and then first-time attendee opportunities as a participant in the conference. Tawny, do you want to touch on that?
So as a First time, I'll start with first time exhibitor. So I would, as a first time exhibitor, we have started identifying our first time exhibitors to promote them more in the event app, as well as providing our just like our first-time attendees, we also provide our exhibitors or Formulation Floor participants a mentor to provide information and expectations going into the Formulation Floor and BakingTECH. The one thing I would highlight is, as a first-time exhibitor, make sure you are taking an opportunity to network and engage outside of the formulation floor. There is more networking and connections made throughout BakingTECH, through our education sessions, general sessions, and our receptions and networking lunches that do not take place on the formulation floor alone. To establish your relationships and build those connections, I would encourage you to take the opportunity to experience BakingTECH as a whole and not just the formulation floor. As a first-time and Amy and Scott, please chime in. But as a first-time attendee, we will be also having, last year we did have a Know Before You Go for our first-time attendees before we went into BakingTECH, a webinar. I would also encourage you as a first-time attendee to make sure you do sign up for our ambassador program, because we do have an ambassador program. And just as I noted with as a first-time exhibitor, make sure you are taking advantage of what all BakingTECH has to offer, not only BakingTECH, but outside of BakingTECH, what ASB offers through all of our educational webinars and regional events. Scott and Amy, do you have any?
Yeah, the one thing that I would say, ASB does a really great job of providing a ton of information about the event on their website prior to it beginning. You'll see the schedule, you'll see what the floor plan is going to look like, you'll see all of the activation opportunities, networking opportunities, there's good descriptions. It even lists who's going to be talking or who's going to be hosting in different areas. Feel free, reach out through the ASB website, through your contacts list, and reach out to those people and ask questions, because I guarantee you, if you've been to at least one BakingTECH, you love talking about it and you're happy to fill anyone in on what it's going to be like.
And I'll just add, as the commercial engagement committee chair, this is probably a little bit against, our mission, which is, we have this anti-commercialization policy, and it's really important to understand this. As a first-time attendee, is all of us, we take our branded gear off and we go and we participate in these things collectively. And this is the education piece, the networking piece, and it's about all of us coming together, no matter if we're suppliers or we're producers, to grow individually and to grow collectively as an industry. And so I would just, for both our first-time exhibitors and our first-time bakers or attendees, think in that way. I'm going there, yes, maybe my company is supporting me, maybe they're not, but I'm going there to learn more about the people in our industry, the needs of the industry, and where we all fit in together to grow together and make it a better place.
Any more questions? Please pop them into the Q&A. I don't see any more coming into the Q&A. Scott and Amy, there for a minute. I thought we were going to go over, but it looks like we are at the top of the hour. I do want to thank everyone for joining us today. Before we officially adjourn, Scott, Amy, any additional comments?
Thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that this was just enough information to get you enthusiastic and excited as we are. We're honored to serve you all on these committees and bring you the best presentation we possibly can. And just a special thanks to Tani and Kristen, who just worked tirelessly to support the efforts of ASB.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in Atlanta in February. If you do have any questions, please reach out to events@asbe.org. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.